Chapter 3. The hidden place/crypt's oppressive silence was shattered by a low hum, echoing like a distant wail. The three friends stood frozen, their shadows flickering against the damp stone walls under the dim, eerie glow of the artifact in their midst. Mallory shifted uneasily, her arms folded tightly as if to protect herself from the unseen. Harper, wide-eyed and jittery, scanned the room with a gaze that never rested, while Jade, the most composed of the group, squinted at the glowing book lying open on a pedestal carved from jagged stone. "Did you see that?" Harper's voice trembled, her finger pointing at the book's radiant pages. "The book, it's glowing." "This can't be good," Mallory murmured, her tone laced with dread. Her fingers clutched the fabric of her sleeves, nails digging into the thin material. "Why now? Why would it glow now?" Jade took a cautious step forward, her eyes locked on the book as if it might leap at her. "Maybe it's a warning. Or a spell." She paused, her breath catching. "We need to take a closer look." As if summoned by an unseen force, the book's cover creaked open wider. Its glow intensified, casting blood-red light over their pale faces. Jade reached for it hesitantly, her fingertips grazing the ancient, leather-bound edges. The room seemed to breathe. "These runes," Jade whispered, flipping the brittle pages with reverence. Her voice grew more urgent. "They match the carvings we saw earlier. The ones on the wall." "But what does it mean?" Harper asked, inching closer but stopping short of touching the book herself. "The text, it's in a language I don't recognize." Mallory stayed back, her instincts screaming at her to retreat. Her chest heaved as fear clawed at her. "Are you sure we should even be touching it? This feels wrong." Before anyone could answer, the crypt darkened. A sickly red pulse emanated from the book, and the runes etched into the walls began to glow in response. "What's happening?" Harper's voice cracked as the air grew thick and electric. "I don't like this," Mallory hissed. Her hands trembled. "Step back. Now." The room erupted in chaos. The book's light surged violently, and runes spiraled outward, spinning in a dizzying cyclone. Shadows danced erratically, bending and twisting into grotesque shapes that seemed to leer at them. Mallory screamed, her voice piercing and raw. "What's happening? Stop it." A final burst of light swallowed the crypt whole. The next moment, they were standing under an open sky. Mallory blinked rapidly, her chest rising and falling with panicked breaths. "Where are we?" Her voice was barely a whisper, yet it carried through the unnatural stillness. "This isn't the library," Harper said shakily, her eyes darting to the unfamiliar surroundings. The air felt wrong, charged with malice, as if something unseen loomed nearby. "No kidding." Jade snapped, frustration breaking through her fear. "What the hell just happened? What did we do?" They were standing on a cracked stone platform surrounded by thick, swirling mist. Twisted trees loomed in the distance, their gnarled branches clawing at the sky. The faint, guttural howl of a wolf echoed through the oppressive stillness, sending a chill down their spines. "This place feels alive," Mallory muttered. Her voice quivered as she turned in slow circles, her senses screaming that they weren't alone. "Like it's watching us." From the mist, figures began to emerge: Asher, Elias, and Lachlan. Their faces were pale, their postures tense. "The seal transported us," Asher said, his voice sharp and commanding. His jaw clenched as he scanned the area. "We're somewhere else entirely." "Not the real world?" Elias asked, his voice cracking. "Are you serious?" "This is why you don't touch glowing symbols," Lachlan growled, his tone bitter. A new sound broke the uneasy quiet, a shuffle, barely audible but distinct. Did anyone else hear that? Mallory's voice cut through the haze, urgent and trembling. Jade's head snapped toward the movement. Something's out there, she hissed. Her fists clenched tightly, and her face was pale. And it's watching us. Asher's voice was low but firm. Stay close. Whatever brought us here doesn't want us leaving. The mist thickened, and the oppressive energy seemed to press closer, like invisible hands grasping at their throats. Shadows twisted and flickered just beyond the edge of visibility, their movements erratic and menacing. Mallory's voice broke the silence again, weak and desperate. If we're stuck here, then how do we get out without making things worse? Elias spoke, his tone uncertain. Maybe it's tied to time. If we wait, the magic might fade. Or we get torn apart by whatever's lurking here, Lachlan snapped, his sarcasm unable to mask his fear. The air suddenly shifted. A faint glow surrounded them, and the mist seemed to thin. The ground beneath their feet trembled as the world around them began to dissolve. What's happening? Everything's dissolving. Mallory's voice rose in alarm. The last thing they saw before the light consumed them was the shadow of something monstrous, standing still in the mist, watching. Then, nothing. The hallway stretched before them, dim and eerily silent despite the midday hour. The oppressive weight of something unseen seemed to linger, making the air thick and difficult to breathe. Asher stood near the center, his arms crossed tightly over his chest, his expression a mix of frustration and exhaustion. Looks like we're back, he muttered, his voice low and gravelly. His dark eyes scanned the surroundings with a sharpness that betrayed his unease. But in uni this time. Elias, standing just a few paces away, exhaled sharply. His posture was tense, his hands curling into fists at his sides as though ready to fight off whatever horrors might still be lurking. Finally out of that weird dimension, he said, his tone clipped, but there was a tremor in his voice he couldn't quite hide. Behind them, Lachlan leaned against the wall, his head tilted back in a mix of disbelief and weariness. He sighed deeply, the sound echoing faintly in the empty hallway. From the shadows of the adjacent corridor, Mallory, Harper, and Jade emerged as though summoned by an invisible force. The dim light above flickered ominously, casting distorted shadows against the walls. Barely survived the night, Jade said with a smirk, her voice dripping with sarcasm. She crossed her arms over her chest, her caramel-toned skin catching the faint glimmer of light as she leaned casually against the wall. But hey, we made it. Her words were confident, but the edge in her tone hinted at the terror they had all endured. Harper stepped closer, her movements deliberate, though her shoulders were hunched slightly as if bracing herself for something unseen. Her long, dirty blonde hair fell over her cream-pink skin, framing her face in a way that made her bright blue eyes appear even more piercing. Now we have even more questions to answer, she said softly, her voice laced with uncertainty and fear. Mallory, standing between them, exhaled deeply and met each of their gazes in turn. Her expression was calm but determined, though the tremble in her voice betrayed her as she spoke. Whatever magic brought us there faded, she said, her voice steady despite the weight of her words. But why? And for how long? As her question lingered in the air, a low hum began to reverberate through the walls, faint but unmistakable. The flickering lights dimmed further, casting the hallway into an unsettling half-darkness. They exchanged uneasy glances, their breaths shallow as the oppressive atmosphere pressed down on them once more. Whatever had brought them back, it wasn't done with them yet. The next day, the halls of Stone Sky University buzzed with mundane activity. Students clutched their books, some chatting animatedly while others lost themselves in their phones. The fluorescent lights overhead buzzed faintly, casting sterile light across the well-trodden floors. Yet, for Mallory and her friends, normalcy had become a distant memory. Mallory strode through the hallway, her arms crossed tightly as though trying to hold herself together. Harper walked beside her, stealing occasional glances, while Jade sauntered on her other side, her sarcastic energy a thin veil for the unease gnawing at her. Asher trailed slightly behind, his expression guarded but his posture protective. "I can't believe we actually made it back," Mallory murmured, her voice breaking the uneasy silence that had stretched since their return. Her eyes darted around the hallway, half expecting the flicker of something unnatural. Jade scoffed, tossing her head. "Survived the night, barely. So, what's the plan now? Pretend none of it happened?" "We can't," Harper whispered, her voice tinged with trepidation. "Those runes, whatever they were, they meant something. And they brought us there for a reason." Asher nodded, his brow furrowing. "This isn't over. We need answers, but you all need to stay safe. Leave the rest to me." Jade rolled her eyes. "Not a chance, hero. We're in this together." Mallory's lips pressed into a thin line, but she gave a small nod. Together. The crisp autumn air outside campus should have been comforting, with its amber leaves drifting lazily on the breeze. Instead, it felt oppressive. Shadows stretched unnaturally long across the cobblestone paths, and the distant sound of laughter seemed distorted, hollow. Mallory and Asher lagged behind the group. Harper and Jade had wandered ahead, their figures shrinking into the haze of golden light. Asher's voice broke the uneasy quiet. "Mallory, can we talk for a second?" She stopped, turning to face him. "What's up?" Asher hesitated, his usual confidence subdued. He rubbed the back of his neck, glancing away before meeting her gaze. "I just wanted to check on you. After everything, I can't imagine how you're feeling." Mallory shifted her weight, her guard instinctively rising. "I'm managing." "Why do you ask?" "Because I care," Asher said simply. His voice was soft, his sincerity disarming. "I don't want you to think you're alone in this." For a moment, the horrors they'd faced seemed distant, replaced by the warmth in his eyes. Mallory felt her cheeks flush as she looked away, smiling faintly. "Thanks, Asher. That means a lot." The archive library near Stone Sky University loomed ahead, its Gothic architecture casting jagged shadows against the evening sky. Inside, the air was heavy with the scent of aged paper and something more elusive, an almost electric undercurrent of foreboding. Mallory, Harper, and Jade spread out among the towering shelves, their footsteps echoing in the cavernous space. Asher stayed close, his phone in hand. "I've texted Elias and Lachlan. They'll meet us here." Harper dropped into a nearby chair, her arms crossed tightly. "Okay, so the legends are real. What now?" "We figure out what those symbols mean," Jade replied, her voice steady despite the tension in her posture. "Whatever they were, they're the key." Mallory nodded, her gaze scanning the shelves. "The library might have something. Let's split up." Asher hesitated before reluctantly agreeing. "Stay close. We don't know what else might be out there." Mallory wandered into a dimly lit corner of the library, her fingers trailing along the spines of old tomes. The oppressive quiet pressed in, amplifying every creak of the floorboards and the faint rustle of paper. She froze. A faint whisper brushed against her ears, too faint to understand but unmistakably there. Her breath hitched as a shadow passed over the aisle ahead. It moved unnaturally, like smoke curling against the grain of reality. "What is this?" she whispered, her voice trembling. The air thickened, the whisper growing louder, wrapping around her like a sinister chant. It clawed at the edges of her mind, a haunting omen of secrets buried deep, secrets that hungered to be found. Mallory took a step back, her heart pounding. But the shadow remained, its form indistinct yet pulsing with malevolence. It wasn't over. Chapter 4. The library felt like another world at night, silent except for the faint rustling of Mallory's steps against the worn floorboards. Her gaze darted between the towering bookshelves, their spines fading into shadows that swallowed the edges of the room. A chill prickled her skin, and she stopped abruptly. "What is this?" The words barely escaped her lips when a shadow loomed ahead, amorphous and pulsating as if alive. Whispers crawled at the edges of her perception, clawing at her mind with fragmented thoughts and eerie intent. A low hum filled the space, vibrating through the walls and her chest. Then it was gone, leaving only an unnatural stillness in its wake. "Mallory." She spun toward the voice, relief flooding her at the sight of Asher. His presence was a grounding force against the encroaching dread. "Are you okay?" he asked, concern etched into his expression. Mallory struggled to steady her breathing. I thought I saw something. A glow and a shadow figure. It felt like something was watching me." Asher moved closer, his warm, steady gaze meeting hers. "Hey, it's okay. You're safe here with me." She nodded, her voice barely above a whisper. It felt so real. Like it was trying to tell me something. "We'll figure it out together," he reassured her, his tone calm but firm. "I promise." Mallory allowed herself to exhale, his words wrapping around her like a shield against the unknown. At a nearby table, Jade, Harper, Elias, and Lachlan sifted through dusty tomes and handwritten records, their faces illuminated by the faint glow of their desk lamps. Elias flipped through the pages of a leather-bound book, his brow furrowed in concentration. "All right," Lachlan declared, strolling into the room. "Who's ready to uncover some old creepy secrets?" Harper smirked, barely glancing up. "Let's hope you're better at finding books than flirting." Lachlan chuckled, leaning against the table. "I could say the same about you, Harper. But you're pretty distracting, I'll admit." Harper's cheeks flushed as she focused intently on her book. Elias cleared his throat, cutting through their banter. "We're looking for something about the supernatural history of Stone Sky University." "Start searching the shelves." "And what exactly are we supposed to be looking for?" Jade asked, raising a skeptical brow. "Anything about curses or unexplained phenomena," Elias replied. "Legends, records, anything that connects the university to the strange things happening on campus." Mallory described her experience to Asher in quiet tones, her voice steady but tinged with unease. He listened intently, his expression shifting between thoughtfulness and concern. "The glow was faint but steady, like a light calling from the dark," she said. "And the shadow, it felt alive, Asher." He nodded slowly. "I know it's scary, but you're brave, Mallory. I admire that about you." The warmth in his voice caught her off guard, and she felt her cheeks heat up. "Thanks. That means a lot." Next to Asher and Mallory, Elias stood abruptly, his eyes lighting up. "Guys, I think I found something." Jade and Harper exchanged amused glances. "Let me guess," Lachlan said, smirking. "It's a spooky bedtime story?" "Or another excuse for Elias to sound dramatic," Harper added with a grin. Elias held up the book, undeterred. Very funny. No, it's about the legend of Stone Sky University. Jade leaned forward, suddenly intrigued. Okay, let's hear it. Elias read aloud, his voice low and deliberate. Centuries ago, the university was built on land cursed by a betrayed sorceress, her vengeance etched into the earth like a scar. The curse was said to awaken every 100 years, calling upon shadows to wreak havoc on anyone who dared to unearth its secrets. A cold draft swept through the room, and everyone exchanged uneasy glances. Sounds like a great setting for a horror movie, Lachlan quipped. Or an excuse for Elias to impress us with his spooky storytelling, Harper teased. Elias sighed. I'm serious. If this legend is real, we're the ones who need to stop it. And how exactly do you plan to do that? Jade asked, folding her arms. Elias smirked. By being the campus Ghostbusters, of course. As the night stretched on, the group's determination solidified. They were bound together not only by the shadows that haunted Stone Sky University but by a shared resolve to uncover the truth. Whatever it took. Laughter echoed softly through the quiet library, filling the space where shadows and secrets had loomed moments earlier. The group set aside their books and theories, choosing instead to embrace a fleeting moment of camaraderie. For now, the weight of mysteries could wait. Friendship had woven a rare thread of solace in the tension-filled night. The golden glow of the campus garden spilled gently over the cobblestone paths. Soft breezes whispered through the leaves, blending with the distant chirping of evening birds. Beneath the lamplight, Asher stood waiting, shifting nervously as he glanced around the tranquil setting. When Mallory appeared, the world seemed to pause. Her presence, subtle yet grounding, eased the nerves that had built in Asher's chest. Hey, Mallory, he began, his voice careful yet steady. I just wanted to check on you. With everything happening, it's a lot to take in. She stopped a few steps from him, her expression reflecting the weariness she carried. Thanks, Asher, she replied softly. It's been overwhelming. He stepped closer, his silhouette outlined by the lamplight. Concern etched his face, every movement weighted with unspoken care. I know it's scary, he said, rubbing the back of his neck awkwardly. But you're strong. You've handled this much already. Mallory's lips curved into a faint smile, a touch of warmth breaking through her melancholy. That means a lot, Asher. I guess I'm just trying to figure things out. Asher's gaze softened, an intensity replacing his earlier hesitation. His eyes held hers, and for a moment, the chaos of their world faded. We'll figure it out together, he said, his voice warm and certain. Promise. The words settled over her like a blanket, comforting and steadfast. For the first time in what felt like forever, Mallory felt a glimmer of stability. Her heart raced as she caught the quiet hope in his eyes, a reflection of her own unspoken longing. That means more than you know, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. A flicker of hesitation crossed Asher's face, but he pushed past it, his tone shifting into something lighter yet sincere. So, would it be okay if we made this more than just surviving together? If we tried something more? Mallory felt her cheeks flush as she searched his face. The vulnerability in his words mirrored the emotions she had buried for so long. I think I'd like that. A lot, she said, her voice steady despite the swirl of emotions within her. A genuine smile spread across Asher's face, bright and unguarded, and Mallory couldn't help but return it. Then it's a date, he said, chuckling softly. Once we're not running from mysterious shadows, of course. Mallory laughed, the sound light and freeing. A date with danger lurking around every corner? Sounds like us. Their laughter mingled, a melody of relief and anticipation. For a brief moment, the weight of their world lifted, and they allowed themselves to dream of brighter days ahead. Meanwhile, the library's golden light bathed Harper in a cocoon of warmth. She sat curled on a worn sofa, a romance novel propped open in her hands, her expression serene. The quiet hum of camaraderie lingered faintly, a ghost of the laughter and conversation that had filled the room half an hour earlier. Now, the archive library was hers alone. The stillness wrapped itself around her like a comforting blanket, the soft rustle of pages her only company. Harper savored the peace, each word on the page a temporary escape from the chaos of the outside world. The silence stretched, unbroken, until the faint sound of footsteps intruded. Harper's brows knit together, but she didn't look up until a familiar voice shattered the stillness. "Didn't peg you for a bookworm, Harper." She glanced up, startled, to see Lachlan standing nearby. His easy grin radiated the subtle energy of mischief, breaking through her initial annoyance. "There's a lot you don't know about me, Lachlan," she replied, her lips twitching upward as she returned her gaze to her book. Lachlan didn't miss a beat. He moved to sit beside her, his presence lighting up the room like a spark in dry timber. "Guess I'll have to stick around to find out," he said, his tone playful and full of promise. With an exaggerated snap, Harper shut her book. Her gaze sharpened, a flicker of challenge dancing in her eyes. "Stick around all you want," she said coyly, "but I should warn you, I'm out of your league." Lachlan leaned back, laughing softly. His grin only widened, unshaken by her words. "Challenge accepted," he replied, his voice carrying a teasing edge. Harper met his grin with a flirtatious wink. "You wish," she shot back before standing. Her movements were deliberate, her confidence unshaken as she strode away, her steps echoing faintly in the now empty library. Lachlan leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees as he watched her retreating figure. His grin softened, a hint of thoughtfulness replacing his earlier bravado. "I definitely wish," he murmured to himself, his voice quiet in the still air. The library fell silent once more, but the charged tension between them lingered, a spark, waiting to ignite. Elsewhere, the diner buzzed with a soft hum of conversation, a cozy refuge from the biting cold outside. Jade sat at a corner booth, savoring the sweetness of her cupcake. Across from her, Elias grinned, a chocolate donut in his hand, the picture of casual charm. "I can't believe you actually came with me for my evening snack run," Jade said, a skeptical smirk tugging at her lips. "What can I say? I live for adventure," Elias quipped, his grin widening. Jade rolled her eyes. "Oh, so following me around counts as adventure now?" Elias leaned back, feigning a look of mock insult before winking at her. "Admit it. You'd be bored without me here." Finishing her cupcake, Jade crossed her arms, leveling him with a pointed stare. "You're awfully confident for someone who ate all my fries 5 minutes ago." Elias held up his hands, feigning innocence. "Hey, you left them defenseless." "I was just protecting them." "By eating them?" Jade scoffed, her laughter spilling into the warm air. "Genius logic." "I think it's charming," Elias replied, his tone teasing. "You must agree since you keep inviting me along." "I didn't invite you. You just showed up," Jade countered, narrowing her eyes playfully. "Maybe I just like good company." "Well, keep up, adventurer," Jade said, standing. "This snack run isn't over yet." Elias jumped to his feet, bowing with exaggerated flair. "Lead the way, fearless leader." The two stepped out into the cool night, their banter trailing off into the stillness of the city. The air outside was crisp, the quiet city humming softly in the background. Jade led the way down the street, her steps confident, while Elias followed with his usual playful energy. "You must really enjoy tagging along," Jade teased, glancing back at him. "Admit it, you secretly admire me." Elias chuckled, the sound warm against the cool night. "You caught me. But don't let it go to your head." Unseen by them, a figure emerged from the shadows. Its movements were slow and unnatural, as if its joints didn't bend the way they should. Under the moonlight, its gray, mottled skin gleamed, and where its face should have been, there was only an incomplete, grotesque void. Jade paused mid-step, a chill racing up her spine. Something felt wrong. "What is that?" she whispered, her voice trembling. Elias followed her gaze, his grin vanishing. His shoulders stiffened, his usual playfulness replaced with alarm and protectiveness. "Run, Jade. Now." The creature moved closer, its jerky steps accompanied by a sickening scraping sound that set their nerves on edge. Jade didn't need to be told twice. She bolted, her heart pounding in her chest. Elias was right behind her, his breath coming in short bursts as they fled into the night, leaving the eerie figure and its unfinished face behind. The city, once a sanctuary, now felt like a labyrinth of unseen dangers, every shadow a potential threat. The next morning, the coffee shop buzzed with the warmth of life. Sunlight streamed through the windows, but the chatter of students held an undercurrent of unease. The events of the previous night had cast a shadow that no amount of caffeine could chase away. Mallory sat in the far corner with her friends, their usual spot. Jade leaned forward, her elbows resting on the table, a mixture of worry and excitement on her face. Harper sipped her latte, her fingers tapping anxiously against the cup. "I can't believe how much has happened," Mallory said, her voice low, as if speaking too loudly might invite the shadows back. "We're barely into our second year, and everything's already insane." Jade smirked, though it didn't quite reach her eyes. "The curse is just a story, right? Just some overblown campus legend?" Harper snorted, but her laugh was hollow. "I don't know whether to laugh it off or start sleeping with the lights on." Mallory tried to keep her tone light, though unease lingered beneath her words. "I came here for lectures and coffee. Not to star in some horror story." "Yeah, well," Jade murmured, glancing around as though the walls might be listening, "I think we're all in the wrong genre now." "But let's admit it," she said, her voice dripping with playful sarcasm. "We've had some distractions." Harper, always quick with a quip, leaned forward with a knowing grin. "Distractions, huh? You mean guys, don't you?" "Who, me?" "Never." Jade shot back, feigning innocence. Mallory couldn't hold back her laughter, the sound ringing out like a bell. Harper joined in, their chuckles echoing around the room. "Come on, Jade," Mallory teased, her voice lilting with curiosity. "Spill it." Jade shrugged nonchalantly, though her sly smile gave her away. "Okay, fine. Elias and I, well, we saw something last night." Harper leaned in, her expression a mix of intrigue and concern. Wait, what? What did you see?" Jade hesitated, her gaze flickering toward the fireplace as if searching for the right words. "It was this figure," she finally admitted. Mallory and Harper exchanged uneasy glances. "A figure?" Mallory repeated, her brow furrowed. "Huh?" Harper echoed, her tone laced with apprehension. "It wasn't human," Jade continued, her voice quieter now. "Or at least, it didn't look like it." She paused, her hands gesturing as she described the figure. Gray skin. No mouth, no nose. Just hollow, black pits where its eyes should have been. Harper's face paled. Oh my God. That sounds horrifying, Mallory said, her voice barely above a whisper. It was wearing these old-fashioned clothes, Jade added, her voice trembling slightly. But they were soaked in blood. Elias and I bolted, and it just stood there, staring. And then? Harper prompted, her voice taut with tension. When we looked back, it vanished, Jade said. Just disappeared into thin air. The room fell into an uneasy silence, the weight of Jade's words pressing down on them. This curse, Mallory said softly, breaking the quiet. Whatever it is, it's becoming real. Harper crossed her arms, her jaw set. And it's not going to leave us alone, is it? Jade shook her head solemnly. Looks like it. The heavy atmosphere lingered for a moment longer before Harper clapped her hands together, forcing a bright smile. Okay, enough creepy vibes for now. Let's talk about happier distractions. Mallory's lips curled into a teasing grin. Oh, you mean Lachlan? What? No. Harper exclaimed, though the pink rising in her cheeks betrayed her. Right, Jade chimed in, raising an eyebrow. Because you didn't just spend alone time with him yesterday evening. Harper's laughter bubbled up, light and carefree. Okay, fine. Maybe I did. And he's so charming. We could tell. Mallory said with a laugh. The way he looks at you. It's like you're the only person in the room. Harper waved her hands dismissively. He's sweet. But, enough about me. Mallory, what about you and Asher? Mallory blinked, caught off guard. What about us? Don't play coy. Harper pressed. You two disappeared for a while last night. Jade smirked. Just checking on you, huh? Mallory laughed, shaking her head. He was just being nice. That's all. Sure, Jade said, rolling her eyes. And I'm the Queen of England. Come on, Mallory, Harper teased. Admit it. You felt something, didn't you? Mallory hesitated, a small smile tugging at her lips. Maybe. Oh. Jade and Harper chorused, their laughter filling the room. This is so much better than scary stories, Jade declared, her grin wide. Oh, speaking of stories, Mallory said, her tone suddenly pointed. Jade, what about Elias? Jade groaned dramatically, slumping in her seat. I'm in trouble. That's all I'll say. Harper raised an eyebrow. Trouble, huh? Big trouble, Jade admitted, though the faint smile playing on her lips suggested she didn't mind. He's so funny, though. Like, infuriatingly funny. Mallory tilted her head. But in a good way? Definitely, Jade replied with a chuckle. Harper leaned back with a content sigh. So, Asher. Lachlan. Elias. Who's the biggest distraction? Mallory's laugh was warm and genuine. All of the above. Without warning, the air seemed to shatter, and a figure materialized in the cafe, emerging from nowhere like a shadow dragged into existence. The figure was the same one Jade had described. Its grotesque form was impossible to mistake. It moved along, its movements jerky, like a marionette being dragged across a stage. Mallory stumbled back, her heart pounding. It's real, she whispered. The figure tilted its head as though it hurt her. And then, in a movement so sudden it felt like a glitch in reality, it was gone. Jade screamed. Harper clutched Mallory's arm, her nails digging into her skin. The cafe erupted into chaos as students fled, chairs clattering and coffee spilling in their haste. Mallory turned to her friends, her voice barely audible over the chaos. The curse isn't just a story. It's real. And now, it knows we're watching.